Hello everyone. Well, as you can see, I'm at my mum's house again. And the reason I'm at my mum's house, well, the reason originally I was at my mum's house is because today they were supposed to be starting fitting our new bathroom. And I didn't want to go through the palaver of being at home when people are in the house. So I said to Mark, I'm going to go to my mum's that week. So it was all arranged, and my mum used the opportunity of me coming so she could go down south for a few days to see her granddaughter. So I'm here looking after my two and of course my mum's dogs. And we've got Monty here as well, who's just been dropped off. Monty is my brother's dog. So he's here for the afternoon. So it's Monday oh crikey, I never know what dates things are. Because I don't know when you're going to see this. Hopefully fairly soon. I can't see my watch. What? Hey Siri, what's the date?
It's Monday, the 14th of August, 2023.
Right, it's Monday the 14th of August 2023. And it's finally stopped raining. So, yeah, so that's why I'm here. Now, before I start the video, I'd like to share with you some extremely sad news. Some of you may have heard me mentioning Sue and Mandy. Sue and Mandy were my very first audience, really. I used to send tapes off to them about once a year, full of me just doing what I do now, chatting and putting up clips of comedy and music and, you know, all sorts. And you have seen little snippets of those videos on this channel. And yes, I do keep meaning to put more of those out. I can't put a lot of them out for copyright reasons. But anyway, I've known Sue and Mandy since 1987, where I started a pen pal correspondence with Sue back in the day when being a pen pal was a thing, obviously before the internet, before computers. We used to write to each other. I don't even know how. I can't remember, I think it was in a magazine or something. You could put your request in. I'm not really sure how, I can't remember how it worked, because as I said, it was 1987 and there was no internet. So Sue and Mandy came as a package because they're twin sisters. So Sue, I was writing to Sue, but obviously I got to know Mandy, and we used to exchange Christmas and birthday presents. And more recently, when I sort of started doing this channel, you know, Mandy and Sue watched and commented a lot and follow me on Instagram and things. So about 2 weeks ago, I just got a message from Sue on Instagram, direct message, to tell me that Mandy had died. And it was, I mean, I'm still very, very sad about it. I've got over the shock because it was not expected. It was just out of the blue. Mandy had died. And just couldn't believe it. I can remember it. I can just picture where I was. I was alone at home in the evening when I opened the message up, and I was sat on the sofa. Mark was out at work to do. I just broke down sobbing. I mean, I've never met Sue or Mandy. I've never met them, but we've known each other, so to speak, you know, since I was 18, basically. So it was all pretty sudden. I believe Sue tells me Mandy was taken into hospital with sepsis, and sepsis is pretty serious infection, and unfortunately she didn't recover from it. So it was a big shock, and obviously it's very upsetting, very sad, but it's far more upsetting for Sue. Obviously it's not, I mean, Sue, it's not just a sister, it's her twin. Mandy is Sue. I'm not going to say Mandy in past tense, because I do have a belief that Mandy is still around. She may not be here in a physical form, but I think she is still around, and especially she had had such a bond with Sue, and Sue was saying she just, I mean, I was trying, I can't, you know, this, what do you say? It's, you can't say anything to comfort anyone who's had a bereavement. But I knew how hard it will be for Sue, and it will continue to be hard for Sue. And she told me she can't. I said, you know, it's always been, you know, I never refer to Sue on her own. It's always Sue and Mandy. It's always Sue and Mandy. They're a couple. They're just, as you know, they are individuals, obviously, but they go together. And Sue just, you know, she said she doesn't know how to do Sue without Mandy. And I just can't get my head around what she'll be going through, because they lived together as well. I mean, it's not like they only saw each other sort of at Christmas and birthdays and things. They were constantly together, supporting each other, because they both looked after their mum, who has dementia, and their dad passed on a couple of years ago. He had dementia as well, so they're caring for their elderly mother in their home. So Sue has that to cope with now, and she hasn't got the support of someone else to go to. I mean, I just can't. It's so hard to understand, bless her, what Sue is going through. So I have to bring that up. I can't not say anything, because, as I said, you know, they were my first captive audience, you know, all those years ago, way before the internet, sending VHS tapes. So, I mean, I can't do a tribute to Mandy. I mean, I knew I had to say something. I said to Sue, I'll have to mention it in my next video, mention Mandy's passing. So it's only been 2 weeks, and, you know, I thought about Sue. I was on holiday last week, and I did sort of think about it. We've been messaging, and I sort of left it. I was the last to message, and I thought, well, I must message her again and just check she's okay. But I didn't want to, you know, I didn't want to bother her if she didn't want to talk about it. But anyway, Sue messaged me today and showed me pictures. I sent her some flowers when I found out. And they're still, after about 2 weeks, they're still blooming, which is nice. I just didn't know what to do. What do you do? I just sent some sympathy flowers, and I sent her a card the next day as well. But she does have some support, you know, she has friends where she is, but so it was just such a shock. It's not as if she had time to get used to it. So it's not like when my dad died. He was ill for a long time, and I've mentioned before, on the last day I saw my dad, I knew when I said goodbye to him when I went to work, I knew I wouldn't see him again alive, and I didn't. My dad knew that as well. And there's time to sort of prepare. But when it's sudden, and suddenly the future you thought you had with this other person in your life, that has smashed to pieces, and that's what I can't get my head around. Sue and Mandy probably had sort of plans after their mother had passed on. I think they were talking they might have downsized, they might have moved out of their family home, bought a small home, and they still would have been together. I know that, and that's the future I had in my mind for Sue and Mandy. I just assumed, you know, that they would continue to live together, but maybe not in the family home. With their little dog Hovis, fairly recently got a rescue dog, which has brought, you know, joy into their lives. another thing to focus on, apart from always having to focus on the needs of their mum, which I do commend them both for looking after their mum in difficult circumstances. Must be heartbreaking to have someone so close to you with dementia, and sometimes they don't even recognise you. That is just awful. Oh, sorry about that. Harry barking at a DPD driver. So, you know, I can't. What do you say? I just said to Sue. I mean, I didn't try and say anything to make her feel better because I knew I couldn't. I just said it's going to be awful. I told her. Well, she knows it. I don't have to tell her. Oh, sorry, Harry. They're not even coming here. I didn't have to tell her. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to stop the dog. Oh, sorry about that. Now, lost my train of thought. So, yeah, it's going to... I mean, yes, there is that cliche, time is a great healer, and it is going to take a long time. I mean, Mandy will always be with Sue. She will always be there. She'll always be part of Sue. I mean, can you imagine losing someone that you shared a womb with? I mean, they've never been apart. They don't know. I mean, Sue doesn't know how to do Sue without Mandy, as I said. That was the most heartbreaking thing I read that Sue wrote. But she will. It will take a long time, but she will learn. And she has to learn to be Sue without Mandy. I'm afraid this is the blow that life, for some reason, has decided to deal for poor Sue. And of course her mother, I mean, you know, her mother, obviously I'm sure she has periods of sort of being more lucid and other periods where she doesn't really know. I don't know what to say, and as I said, it will be very, very hard for Sue. Once everything's been, you know, the practical things, and Sue has to do all that. She felt guilty about going through Mandy's things and looking at her phone to find some contacts, and she felt maybe she was invading on Mandy's privacy, and she's not. She's doing the best for her sister. I know she is, and I'm sure I believe that Mandy knows. I just personally, I don't believe that life just finishes and that's it. I don't believe that for a second. I believe Mandy she's not in physical form, but she will be there, and maybe she can't send Sue a message now, but maybe as the weeks and months pass, Sue will see signs that Mandy is there. I'm sure of it, and I hope that provides Sue with some comfort. I mean, I just have to think about when my dad died. But it was nothing. I had other feelings when my dad died. It's mainly guilt I felt. I'm sure Sue hasn't anything to feel guilty about. She will just be feeling the immense loss of her sister. And the fact that it was really quick, pretty sudden. She didn't have any time to prepare. And losing a loved one, of course, under any circumstances is awful. And even if you've got a bit of time to prepare, I think it does help a bit if you've had a proper chance to say goodbye and the person who's dying knows they're going to go, and you can tie up the loose ends and do all that and sort things before they've gone. think it does make it a little bit easier. But when it's so sudden, I haven't really gone into depth with everything. I don't want to ask Sue, but I just, I hope there was a moment where she could say goodbye. But Sue, if you're watching, I'm sure, as I said, Mandy is there with you. She's still with you. And you'll feel her presence. I'm sure you will. And of course, you're going to be reminded of it all the time. I mean, there's nothing. There's not going to be a single minute, or and I know, I'm pretty sure, I know it's like when you lose someone, you wake up and for a second or two you forget that they've gone, and then you realise, and you've got to get up and face another day. But Sue will get through it. She has to get through it. She knows she's got to be there for Hovis and her mum. But time will, time is a great healer. It's never going to stop the pain. There's always going to be pain when you lose someone. But as the time goes by, it's like with my dad, and when I lost my dog Rupert very suddenly. I know it's not the same a dog as a person, but when I lost Rupert when he was only 4, very suddenly, I mean, that it took me over a year before I wasn't crying over that. And with my dad, obviously, a lot of the time when my dad died, I was feeling guilty about things I should have done, things I shouldn't have done. But as the time goes by, then instead of, when you think of the person, instead of feeling the sadness of their loss, you think of them and you smile. You just brought back to the moment when, nice things and things that made you laugh. And it's, instead of when you think about a person, instead of becoming an unpleasant thing, it becomes a comfort. And when you bring them back into your memory, you're not bringing them back to life, but you're bringing their memory back to the forefront. And yes, there's always going to be the sadness there. But as I say, I know with my dad, I've chatted to my dad, sometimes out loud, sometimes in my head. And I did see a medium. Not sure I agree with mediums anymore, but I did see a medium. Both of them did say my dad. I think one of them even said my dad's name straight off, and said that my dad didn't understand me. He forgave me for anything, and he sort of didn't understand me, perhaps, which is why we had tension. But now I think I'm very like my dad, and I'm often thinking about my dad, and just in day to day doing DIY. If something's going wrong, or if I need a bit of help, I just say, "Hey Dad, give me a hand with this. I can't work this out," or just things like that. And I'm sure it'll happen with Sue. There'll be times when she needs a bit of support, and she'll conjure Mandy up in her head, and she'll speak to Mandy. And although at the moment, she can't hear a response, I personally believe that Mandy or our departed do hear us. And when we think about them, when we have that, what I can only describe as heartache, and it's a real thing, it's a strange, it's not a feeling I can describe, but it's sort of, it is an ache. It's an ache, not a pain, but it's a sort of an ache and a longing, and it's when you think about the person, when you bring them back into your memory, it brings them back to life. And I believe personally that they know, their spirit knows. And I just, I'm sure Sue will in time find comfort and be able to smile when she thinks about Mandy. And I do believe that one day we will be reunited with our loved ones. It must be awful for people with no faith to think that when you're gone, that's it, you're gone. I personally don't believe that. I just can't accept that when somebody is gone, that's it. I can't accept that. And I've had plenty of evidence in my own life that there is something, I don't know what, but there is something after we die. So that's all I can say. I can't, obviously there's people watching this who have suffered bereavements, and it's always gonna be there, and until your dying day, you're always going to feel the loss of a loved one, and especially at certain occasions. They will say Christmas, at birthdays, there'll be certain places you might go to that will remind you of that person. But to finish, all I can say is yes, it will take a long time. But the memories of your loved ones, the memory Sue will have of Mandy will always live on in her, and that will keep Mandy alive in Sue. But there you go. I just don't know. It's very hard to know what to say to anyone who's suffered such a sudden bereavement, and from someone who's so close. But I hope you all have nice thoughts for Sue and Mandy, for what Sue's going through. And if you've got anything you want to say in the comments, how you've coped, please comment, and Sue might want to read them. But that's it. I thought I'd have to address that. And Mandy, if you're watching, if you still can get YouTube, I will get some more videos put up of the videos I used to send you and Sue. I'll just have to heavily edit them because I can't show you everything. I can show you the boring bits of me chatting and showing around the house and the dogs and things, but I can't show you clips of comedies and I can probably show a few seconds of the clip so you can see what I was introducing, but I won't be able to put up the whole three or 4 hour tape. It'd be so boring. But I know, just finally, and what made me, what touched me most, because I was corresponding with Mandy only a few days before she died, and she used to mention things about the videos and stuff, and how sometimes she couldn't sleep at night and she'd put a video on, and she used to, the last message I had of Mandy was the video I made on the walking treadmill thing, how I made her laugh doing my silly impressions of a straight man at a gym and a gay man at a gym. And so I was so grateful that I made a difference to Mandy and made her laugh and helped to while away the time when she couldn't get to sleep. And you don't know how you touch people's lives. And Sue said, I do, bless her, she said, I do make a difference. I don't know if I make a difference to people, but Sue says my videos do make a difference to people, which is very nice to hear. But yeah, that's it. I can't say anymore. I just don't know what to say about it. I just wanted to mark the passing of Mandy with something. I had to say something. I couldn't go merrily on without saying anything. So that's that bit of the video over with. So just to do a bit of admin, Mark and I have just come back from Wales, been in the caravan, had a nice holiday. We were staying near a place near Barmouth on the coast, but it was sort of a few minutes up the road in the car in a caravan site. It was mixed. We normally go adult only, but this wasn't adult only, and it was in school holiday time, so there's lots of kids around, and to be honest, it didn't really bother me. It was quite nice to see kids playing. We were right next to the playground area, and then there was a football field and kids playing with their dads, mainly football, and there was this one tiny little boy constantly up and down outside the caravan on his little bike, and then occasionally you'd hear, a crash and a child had fallen off their bike or something, and you hear the crying and then being comforted. So it was quite nice, to be honest. They were normally, as I said, we only go to adult only, but it was nice. It was, especially after the couple of years or so that we've had when kids weren't really allowed to go out, was not to go out and mix with other children, schools were closed. It was just nice to sort of witness some normality. Young families, some were in tents. We were in the caravan park, but we overlooked fields with families camping in tents. And as you observe the kids, it was nice to think that these kids are having a great time. It was a great campsite for young families and children. Not so great for a couple of middle-aged puffs, but it was nice just to think of these children growing up and the memories they would have had from those holidays. Like we all have, hopefully, we all have nice memories of holidays with our parents who often we don't have anymore. We don't have our parents anymore. I don't have my dad and still have my mum. And maybe they'll become campers and caravanners themselves if the powers that shouldn't be allow people to have that simple pleasure of owning a caravan or going camping, if that's not stopped. Like so many things they're trying to stop. Simple pleasures they're trying to stop, aren't they? So it was, it was nice. I can't have kids, obviously, and even if I wanted any, I'm too old to father a child. But it was just nice seeing that, and you could see you could definitely see the fathers and especially fathers and sons. You could tell instantly that there was father and son because they walked the same, they sort of had the same haircuts, But it was lovely. And in Barmouth itself, it was a nice little town actually, nice beach, but it's very geared for families. That it was there was a fun fair and you could get candy floss and rock and buckets and spades and things like that. And it was a very family orientated place. So yeah, the caravan park I was at, if you go caravanning or camping, I mean the reception for the mobile signal was absolutely appalling. I couldn't hardly get on the internet. We had to go up a hill to get internet. But with the beaches and it was just lovely. So I would certainly recommend Barmouth for families, definitely, and dogs are welcomed mostly. On Barmouth Beach itself, there was an area you couldn't have the dogs, but there was a big area you could have dogs on. So hopefully, I did film some of that, and hopefully I'll at some point get that footage up. But I filmed it all on my iPhone, I didn't take my camera. So anyway, I'm going to be quite busy. My mum's just gone. She's coming back Thursday. She's not going for the whole week. So I'm going to have 2 full days of being here alone. And I'm hoping to finish some videos off, vacuum videos, that I started here ages ago. The vacuum's stood in the loft. So I need to get the bare minimum 4 videos made. Don't matter if they're not edited, just as long as I've got the footage and I can go home and do the editing. But as long as I get some videos under my belt while I'm here, and then when my mum's back I can't really video, so I'll be sorting some vacuums out to sell. That's the plan anyway. And then when I go back on Sunday, I've got a week until they come to fit the bathroom. So I've got a lot to do, so I won't have time to film that week. I've got a lot to sort out, pardon me, in the house. One main thing is, well, they'd be going up to my bedroom, so that all has to be tidy. They're fitting a new door on my ensuite, which I will show you at some point. They're fitting a glazed frosted glass panel door on there. I wanted to swap it for the solid door so it lets light through into my bedroom even with the door shut. But they will be removing this internal soil pipe from the bathroom, and it actually ends up in this loft space behind my wardrobe in my bedroom, and that is full of vacuum cleaners. So I need to, in case they need to get in there, I need to clear out half of my wardrobe that's full of vacuums so they can have access into the hatch, and then I need to clear out about a quarter of that loft space so they can, if they need to fix the hole that they're going to make, if they need to do anything from above, they'll be able to get in there. So I've no idea where that stuff's going to go. So I've got to do that. I've got to have all the house tidy. I've got to make sure that Mark can use the downstairs loo. I have been tidying that out and getting rid of stuff. So that has to be so he can actually use the loo, because he won't be able to use the bathroom. He can, of course, go upstairs and use my ensuite when he wants a shower. But when they're here doing the bathroom and up and down and stuff, it'll be handy for Mark to be able to use the cloakroom downstairs. So I've got to make sure that's sorted. So I'm going to be very busy. I'm just sort of having a bit of a rest because I'm quite tired. We did a lot of walking last week, and sleeping on those caravan beds, although it's not too bad, sharing with Daisy in a very narrow bed isn't a picnic, I can tell you. I'm going to have to answer the door because I feel... Hang on.